I didn't realize you were going to record the whole conversation. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
So here we are with Linda Kramer, and it was incredible how we were talking, Linda, this week. And I was not even knowing who I was really talking, and I had already met you, but that's sometimes how, when we have no expectations of a conversation, things just happen more magically. And I
mhm.
was so in awe with all your journey at your, I don't know if it's okay to say your age, but at your 79, is it okay?
Oh, absolutely. I'm very, very proud of that. Because God has been good and
hmm
taught me well.
Yeah, and I always love to talk uh, with older women and wise women, because as we age, now I'm close to 60, you're close to 80. As we age, we gain so much wisdom of life and just in general. And
Mhm.
that is wisdom that needs to be carried on to future generations. And topics like menopause that a lot of people or past generations don't talk about. So you talked about how amazing you have allowed God to lead you in your journey of your health, your family, your upbringing of your kids, and your life situations. It was incredible. And it was really magical conversation. And at the end, I mentioned to you that I love helping women in this season of menopause and transitions. And with everything that you shared, it like you went through so many transitions, but we didn't even touch the topic of like personal health as women, female health, right?
Right.
And it fascinates me because we go through stages and phases in our life.
Mhm.
And it's very, now that I talk with women, I always ask them, okay, they're dealing with something. I ask them, well, how old are you? And it's right on the verge of whatever the age is, what's happening. And I'm going to give you a little example. This morning, I went for my 5 mile walk with my friends,
Oh.
and that we do every Saturday. And then we stopped at Kroger's because a friend needed to go to the restroom, right? So
Mhm.
I walked to drink some water to the Starbucks inside the Kroger, and a friend who is an avid runner. She is like avid runner, and she's a fast runner. And I asked her, "Are you still running?" And she said, "Guess what? I have not, and I feel kind of guilty, but I found Pilates. And I have started doing Pilates, and I feel so good." And I
Mhm.
said, "Okay, please tell me, how old are you? Please tell me your age." And she said, 48. I said, "You're right at the verge. When I
Mhm.
started all my changes right at 48, because running or doing too many things rises cortisol, and with the estrogen that is peaking down, then our body is just like, wait a minute, just stop." But she felt guilty in her mind because that's
Mhm.
her routine. That's how she always navigates her life, like go, 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 run, 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 run. I said,
Mhm.
I give you permission to not run and to not feel guilty. Keep on listening to your body. So I wanted to put that out there because anybody that gets to listen to this recording or this conversation know that anything that happens at different stages, um, listen to your body more than your brain,
That's
right?
good. That's good teaching. Very, very, very good teaching. And one of my main phrases, listen to your body. It's wise, very wise.
Yes. Yes. So, Linda, I would love for you to share with me your exciting, or I don't know, exciting or challenging, or however, I have no idea what your menopause story, but this way I can learn, people who listen can learn, and get some insights from here.
Thank you. Well, I think I guess I would call it unique. Unique. It's quite different, I believe, than most. And I hope very educational. I hope it will help others. But uh, So I grew up with the sad all-American diet, eating just whatever, e- eating what didn't eat me first. And through my teens and 20s, I had chronic kidney infections, um, though, fairly healthy and fairly normal periods. My my first, I had four children altogether. My first two were sons, boys, and they were born. My first one when I was 27, and my second one when I was 29. And my early 30s found me with a very, very long list of ailments, along with early menopause. These symptoms, I would not wish on my worst enemy, on anybody's worst enemy. I don't have enemies, but pretty much, but I wouldn't wish them. The
So,
doctors were mentioning.
what are some of those symptoms? Are you gonna share with
Oh,
us?
I should. Yes, I
Yes,
should.
please do.
Well, I had all your typical symptoms, plus some I hadn't heard before, which was and the typical symptoms were the hot flashes and the mood swings, the PMS. Oh my goodness, I was a mess. Uh, but ones that I hadn't heard of was this horrible boring sensation. Um, in- internal, is that, do people often have that? It
I
was.
didn't consider it like boring sensation, but tired, like apathy, like yeah.
Now, when I say boring, I don't mean boring as in um, emotional or whatever.
Oh,
It
okay.
was a boring, like a internal driving,
Ah,
something bore.
okay,
I guess
rubbing,
it,
like
yeah, pressing.
mm-hmm,
Uh-huh. Very, very, very uncomfortable.
mm-hmm.
Um, so, um, well, I won't go into my long list of symptoms, but the
But
doctors.
mention a few because it's very important for people to know what those things and symptoms are because a lot of times it's like anxiety and depression. They go to the doctor for a prescription medication for that when it's also linked with menopause.
Well, I was born with heart issues,
Hmm.
and they wouldn't let me carry anything bigger than a little purse all my life, and didn't realize that the heart was a muscle and that you did need that exercise to strengthen it. So I was a weakling. Um, Gosh, just chronic fatigue. Um, um, I try to forget that that long that long list of issues. Truthfully, but the doctors were mentioning that I was headed for dialysis,
Hmm.
and I cried out to him that they're just not even realize that he listened. I had no idea that he listened, but I just said, oh, "There's got to be a better way," and he heard me, and he did show me. Um, because the boys were young, and I had we were out dress shopping at this huge L-shaped strip mall in Spring, Texas, and the boys were having being there. They were being boys, very, very hyper. I was having a hypoglycemic fix, a sugar fix. Okay,
Mm.
so hypoglycemia was one of my issues, and not wanting to bite their head off or curse at them in public, which I didn't like to do. My mother was a saint, and you know, I don't know. You know what a hypoglycemic's like? They just have no control. They're like an alcoholic that that
Ah,
that has no control. I would
okay.
apologize to them and say, "Sorry, mom's just tired," but 5 minutes later, I'd be yelling at them again. Never
Mm.
physically hurt them, but verbally abusing the poor babies. Um, I was okay. So I decided from that strip mall that I would leave that dress shop and go to the other end of the strip mall for a sugar fix for a candy bar. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, But along the way, right in the middle of the strip mall was this little shop. And I could see a little lady just right inside the door. And I cracked the door and asked her if she had candy bars. Um, and she said she did, and they were right close. I ran in and grabbed a couple of candy bars, held them up so that she wouldn't think I was stealing them. And I went to hide in a booklet because I did not want anybody in my face. I did not want to have to count change or anything until I got my fix. Okay, well, she comes up to me anyway and asks me if she could help me. And I seriously wanted to tell her to go away, to bug off. But I found myself looking at the booklet and looking back at her, and looking back at the booklet. And I soon realized that I had opened that booklet to herbs for kidneys. And at the same time, I'm hearing myself cry, there's got to be a better way. Okay. And I look at her and I say, you have something for kidneys? And I had found myself, by the grace of God, in Grace's Nutrition Mart. And Grace is teaching me more in 5 minutes than any doctor had taught me my entire life.
Wow.
So, and she taught me that, well, she was inquiring about my caffeine intake. And oh, no, I don't drink coffee. I'd given up Cokes a long time ago, but I was addicted to Lipton tea. And she taught me that Lipton tea had more caffeine than coffee did. And so now I'm guzzling red raspberry leaf tea. She does not even know I'm in early menopause. I'm not knowing that red raspberry leaf tea is a female hormone corrector. Okay. I'm just guzzling this tea, and I go back and ask questions. I later go to work with her, and I soon learned that we had a soup and salad bar that I would work at a lot. And I would listen to customers, and I would hear a common denominator from the customers that they gave up on the doctor, so the doctor weren't helping them, or the doctor just told them there wasn't any more help for them. But 2, they were resorting to live whole foods.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm not only eating better, but I'm guzzling this red raspberry leaf tea. I did that for 8 years. Okay. And at the end of that 8 years, I learned about Sunrider Life Whole Foods. My mother has cancer, and we got a book by Edie Mae, How I Conquered Cancer Naturally. And we're juicing, and we hear about Sunrider Whole Foods. And we realized that, oh my gosh, these are much easier than juicing. Day and night, we were doing the juicing, cleaning the kitchen. That was all we got done. So I'm now guzzling red raspberry leaf tea and the Sunrider herb teas, and just eating way, way, way better. And I have the opportunity to remarry. And so at the end of 8 years, my periods come back. I'm remarried, and I have 2 more kids, 2 more girls. And then I've nursed both of those just like I did the boys. But at the end of nursing the boys, my periods didn't come back, but they did come back after having the girls. Okay. My girls were born my boys were born at 27 and 29. My girls were born at 37 and 39.
Mm-hmm.
I have great periods after that. My periods were beautiful. I had 0 menopausal symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. My periods were regular through my 50s, or into my 50s, all through my 40s and into my 50s. They were regular and just dwindled off. I did not even know that I was going through menopause until they were just weren't anymore.
Mm.
So it's just so about your health,
Yeah.
you know. I'm sure, there's the exercise, there's um, the better, little bit better love relationship, etc. Better, just better all around family life.
Family
Uh,
life is very important. Uh-huh.
so, yes, you just takes it all. It takes it all.
Hmm. So really, God had a way for you to give you an answer for the like the raspberry tea to
Hmm.
help you with your liver, right?
Oh, yes, it helps
Which in
with
return help you with your hormone balance.
mostly, yes, my hormone. I'm sure my liver, my kidneys, everything was just a total mess. Yeah, especially my liver. Actually, I did other things for my liver also, like the dandelion and so forth. But I remember early on that I would step off a curb and I would feel like my liver would go kabunk like it was a brick.
Hmm.
Okay. And, 10, 15 years later, I can jump off a curb and nothing, absolutely nothing as
So
far as
the
discomfort.
importance of eating healthy, but
Hmm.
really knowing what healthy is, because I think there's so much misconception about health or healthy eating. People feel like, oh, salads is healthy eating. Like,
Hmm.
yes, vegetables are very important and raw vegetables are very important, but what else? You cannot live on salads. You have to have other things like healthy fats, like proteins, because like everything, we're running our body in hormones.
Right.
So we don't know that. It like we feel that it's just a decline of hormones with menopause. It's like, well, since we're 30s, right? You said you were terrible diet at 27, and that's when you had all your symptoms. If women start learning in their 20s, early 20s, 25, 30, to eat healthier, then
I believe one of the biggest helps, you're right, absolutely right on. It's how we prepare those foods, are not only our choices, but are we destroying the nutrition or are we increasing the nutrition?
mhm,
Uh, I remember even after the girls were born, from all the years of antibiotics and a few years of birth control pills, I had a horrendous case of candida. Okay.
mhm,
And, which is caused from those reasons and the fluoride in the water, et cetera, the medications. But I would fall asleep even after my second daughter was born. I would fall asleep in the middle of a conversation because of this candida.
yeah,
And one day I said to a friend, we were at we're eating, I forget, a potluck somewhere, and this delicious rice dish. And I said, oh, I wish I could eat rice, but it makes me so sleepy. And she said, well, have you ever soaked and sprouted your rice and cooked it on a low temperature? I said, have I ever done what? Well, I only knew to throw the rice on and boil the life out of it. I didn't know better, but I learned. And after that, all my grains, beans, and legumes, I
mhm,
would soak and rinse and, let them not sprout a tail, but just begin to germinate so that when you did cook them on a low heat, that you didn't destroy the life. And I know that had a lot to do with just getting the better nutrition. So I had several
and
ways of
and
getting way better nutrition. And God created us with the ability to regenerate. And that's one of my best teachings is to teach people that God created us. We have the ability to regenerate if we get enough of the right combination of live whole food and the exercise, etc.
is right combination, and like you said, that is genius, the right way of cooking and the right way of combining foods, because some foods enhance each other and
Right?
some foods are not good to be together.
Right.
So certain fruits, like if you eat certain fruits, like a fruit cocktail, it's bomb to the stomach. It's so bad for you. But if you eat separate foods with the right amount of protein then or fats, and it's helpful.
I
So
learned I learned early on about food combination. That was a big help too. That when we eat, we produce digestive enzymes, from our saliva, and that different foods take different enzymes, and if you eat them together, yes, it's very confusing for the digestive system. Even my mother, so they taught things like this decades ago. My
mhm.
mother remembered in elementary school someone teaching that, here's how they represented it. They said, meat and potatoes blow up in the dark, meaning if you eat carbohydrates and proteins in the same meal, they cause more digestion than than the lack of ability to digest it. So yes, I learned the food combinations that you want to eat your proteins and your carbohydrates separate. And I remember reading the Diamonds book. I forget the name of it right now, but they taught that yeah, fruit, and yes, a little when I'm eating anything sweet, I do add a little bit of nuts or seeds or something to balance that. But we mostly eat our fruits in the morning, and then we eat our protein type foods with vegetables in the noontime, afternoon time, because the protein gives you the energy to work your day. And then in the evening, we will eat our complex carbohydrates, which would be your root crops or your grains, um, and a variety. Where you want a variety of grains and variety of root crops with more vegetables in the evening. Those are easily digested. They digest well before time to go to bed so that you can sleep, because the body doesn't really desire, well, it would rather eat or sleep. It's difficult to do both at the same time for
That
you
makes
rest.
so much sense. With like the rice and the beans, they make you a little bit sleepier, even though you're combining them with like
Mhm.
the vegetables. So
Mhm.
in the evening, you're ready to go to sleep. So you're just producing more melatonin and just kind of going with the cycle. And also they help their high in fiber. So they're good in for your digestion to work properly and go to poop in the morning well, which is
You
very
make
important.
you make a very good point. They do make a complete protein.
Yeah.
But I don't know about you, but I believe that our body is capable of putting those proteins together, that they don't necessarily have to be eaten at exactly the same time. Not that there's anything terribly wrong with it, to eat them at the same time. But I believe if you eat your beans earlier in the day and your grains in the evening, I think the body can put those together and create a complete protein. What do you
Yeah.
think?
Well, I know greens and protein. Yeah. So what I learned early on also is like too much of something, it causes the same sleepiness. So,
Mhm.
but to answer your question, rice and beans, which is, I'm from Mexico, and in Mexico, rice and beans are like the staple of food for everybody. It's a
Right
perfect
on.
protein. But
And
here in the US, they
in many
add, or in Texas, they add meat to the rice and beans. So it's like it's an excess of protein and it makes
right
you
on.
so sluggish and sleepy and inflamed.
Right. Yes, too much protein is probably a little worse than
Yes.
um, than your high protein foods,
Yes.
because there is protein in everything.
Yes. So it's
Mhm.
so important to be aware. That is a word that I love to use
Mhm.
because you cannot change anything that you're not aware of, right?
Mhm.
And
Right.
as women, if we become aware of, okay, how are we sleeping? We're sleeping, we're feeling like or how are we feeling? Not sleeping. How are we feeling? Are we feeling energetic or are we feeling sluggish? Okay, what did we eat? So start making those connections, because only we are the ones who can change things. So you had a direction from God to lead you to that store, to open that book, to eat that candy bar right there, hidden, so that you could take a look at that book. And because you knew there was a better way, so you were asking for another way, and those better ways come from different people, different things, different sources. God just directs us to the right place where we should find the answer. If we are aware enough and we're seeking and we're seeing, right? Because we
Right
can
on.
be blindfolded and be directed to that book, but
It
you
was
didn't pay
amazing.
attention, then you missed the message, right?
Right on. You are reminding me of a little story. It's just a little side note. I want to share about caring for my grandmother. And when you, I'm reminded of this story when you mentioned about something too much of something is not good. When I was caring for my grandmother, my aunts would encourage me to feed her whatever, she wanted. And of course, at 99, I'm going to feed her whatever she wants. She was very sharp minded and pretty little physically active, but she was blind. And I would put her food in after she had eaten her meal, which was what she had eaten a lot of her life, and what my aunts wanted me to feed her was oatmeal. And before she ate the oatmeal, she was reaching for her finger food. She was drinking with her cup. And after she ate her oatmeal, she asked me, she said, "Are there any more grapes?" And I said, "Yes, Grandma, they're to the back of the left of your dish." And she could not even get her arm back up over the table to reach for the grapes. So that taught me that devitalized, overcooked, dead from the beginning oat
Oatmeal.
flakes were not worth the energy that it took to digest them. So that was combining that with my learning to soak and sprout the whole grain that
Mm-hmm.
had the life. The life was just dormant. It just needed to have the living water added
Mm-hmm.
to add some life to it, and the digestible enzymes to it
Mm-hmm.
was very, very enlightening.
And that's awareness again, right? Other
Mm-hmm.
people might
Mm-hmm.
be like, oh, she's just going crazy. It's just age, like a
Yeah.
lot of people say. But it's
Mm-hmm.
like you notice the difference before and
Mm-hmm.
after the oatmeal. And it's like, it's instant. It's instant because the
Yeah.
body's already feeling. So it's like you feel
Mm-hmm.
lethargic. When you're
Mm-hmm.
eating, my son, now that he's more aware with the food, and now he used to love Chick-fil-A or the French fries. And then he goes now, and even though they're healthy or healthier version, he goes and he says, "Mom, I feel so bloated when I eat those things." So
Mm-hmm.
he's decided now no longer to eat those things. But we have to become aware, and we have to become our self advocates and teach our children that, like, it's not telling them what to eat, but it's telling them, notice when you eat this and when you eat that. Just notice how you feel.
You taught him to listen to his body, and he's listening to his body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially after big migraines that he suffered. It's like, I'm not going there anymore.
Mhm.
He's learned his lessons. Like, he does not want to feel so lethargic anymore, ever. So he's listening. So thank you so much for sharing this beautiful story. I hope that anybody that listens to this story um, gets a little insight, a little just a different perspective of how to live a better life and how to become a better version of yourself, because nobody's going to change anything until we do not decide to change something that we do every day, which is eating. And eating is the most important thing for our health and wellness, because it depends a lot of how we eat, how we feel, how we sleep, how we poop is the whole cycle. But the timing of eating is also important. And if anybody wants more information, it's like Linda is an expert. I am an expert in different modalities, so you can reach out, and I will put links in the bottom, and then yeah, and you can reach out to either of us, and we will be happy to help you.
Wonderful. That is,
Okay.
I do believe that one of the reasons why I'm here is to encourage people, um, teach them that God has given us the ability to regenerate. And yeah, always happy to do that.
Absolutely, and we're here to help.